What's up, good people? It's your Final Fantasy homie Jay, and I had to create a monk PvP guide. So for all my monk people out there who are inspired to try to go out there and give these people hands in the PvP setting. Who doesn't want to throw hands with the monk? Anyway, past all that, what I want to do today is I want to show you some combos that I have used to climb to gold in 9 hours, which I think is pretty good. And the play style that I think monk fits right now in PvP, because it's not an assassin and it isn't tanky enough to be a frontliner. But we'll talk about that, and I'll have videos and stuff explaining kind of what I'm thinking about. So let's get to the rotation. Write this down, get your piece of paper, and let's get to learning. First off, one of your most bread and butter rotations is going to be wanting to use your Rising Phoenix with your Enlightenment, or use it with your Phantom Rush, because Enlightenment is going to be your strongest OGCD ability and Phantom Rush is your strongest combo ability. The thing about Monk is that Monk has a 7 GCD combo, which is the longest combo system in PvP. So Monk needs to stay alive to be able to consistently get to Phantom Rush to be able to capitalize on his most damage. That bread and butter combo is if your Enlightenment is up, you can thunderclap into an enemy, which thunderclap gives you a shield for charging at an enemy, and it also reduces your cooldowns of your GCDs. So you'll thunderclap to an enemy, you'll use Rising Phoenix to get that 50% weapon skill buff, because the passive on Rising Phoenix is when you activate it, it makes your next weapon skill do 50% more damage, and then use an Enlightenment. That way your Enlightenment goes from 8k damage to 12k damage, and then you can thunderclap into them again and continue your combo. Or if your Phantom Rush is up after you went through your first 6 GCDs, you can use Phoenix with your Phantom Rush. Once you get to that 7th GCD, which will be your Phantom Rush, you will activate Rising Phoenix. You should already be in front of the enemy, so you shouldn't have to use a Thunderclap, but you can use it to safely give yourself a little more health, a little more survivability. Use Rising Phoenix, use Phantom Rush. Phantom Rush, instead of doing 10k damage, would now do 15k damage. It'll allow you to capitalize on those mini burst windows. One of the main combos you will be using to burst down enemies, because Monk has technically two burst phases that they can utilize, and this burst phase will require you to have Phantom Rush. So it is important for monks to survive. Monks need to survive so they can consistently build on their combo system, so they can get to Phantom Rush. The burst rotation will be a thunderclap, so you dash to them, get that GCD buff, and also get the shield. You're gonna go into your 6-sided star to get the stun. You're gonna use Rising Phoenix to proc your buff damage into your Phantom Rush, so your Phantom Rush needs to be available. Once you use Phantom Rush, you're going to use Rising Phoenix again to proc the next buff damage, and then you're going to use Enlightenment. So that way you're stunning them so they can't get away from your Phantom Rush. You're going to stun them, you're going to use your Rising Phoenix to get that buff. Now your Phantom Rush is doing 15k damage instead of 10. Then you're going to use another Rising Phoenix to proc that next buff, and now your Enlightenment is going to do 12k damage. So that's 27k damage in one buff window plus the stun. So when you knock them back, you can thunderclap straight into them again. They're a little isolated, and hopefully you can finish them off before they die, or not before they die, because you want them dead. You can finish them off before they heal. The last 2 combos is something you're going to utilize a lot, because one thing about Monk is that it has the second fastest limit break gauge, and that's because Monk plays around CC quite a bit, and even in his limit break, there is a crowd control. You limit break them, it knocks them into the air, they can't do anything. You finish a combo and slam them, and they're stuck for those couple of seconds. And using limit break in your rotation is how you're really going to be able to one-shot a lot of squishies, especially if they're 50% or lower. Shoot, if you get the last rotation I'm going to explain to you, you can almost one-shot a squishy at 80% life. but the stars have to align perfectly for that to work. But let's talk about the 2 rotations that include your limit break. The one you're going to use majority of the time with your limit breaker is your enlightenment into your limit break combo. And that's because what happens is, if you look at enlightenment, there is a passive on there that says that when you use enlightenment, your next weapon skill would do 12k damage, or your next limit break would do 12k extra damage. So limit break already does 24k damage. If you add on that 12k from enlightenment, now you're looking at 36k damage just from 2 buttons. So how that rotation would look is that you're going to thunderclap into your enemy, you're going to enlightenment them, it's going to knock them away, and because your limit break is a teleport, you can limit break them while they're dashing away to do your rotation, and that way you double CC them and they can't do anything for the entire rotation. So if an enemy is anywhere between 40 and 50% life, and you thunderclap into an enlightenment into your limit break, they don't have time to react enough to live. So you always want to kind of focus that rotation on lower health enemies, because you can literally one-shot anybody who's around 40 or 50% life. It's beautiful. The last rotation with your limit break, and this one, the stars need to be perfectly aligned, is your triple crowd control into a double phoenix rotation. And how that's going to look is that you're going to thunderclap to your enemy. You're going to get that baby shield with that extra GCD cooldown rotation. You're going to thunderclap to them. You're going to 6-sided star. You're going to hit them with that stun. Then you're going to go into a rising phoenix into your Phantom Rush. So you need Phantom Rush to be able to set up this combo. So you're going to go to your Rising Phoenix to proc that buffed Phantom Rush. You're going to use Phantom Rush into another Rising Phoenix to buff your Enlightenment. You're going to use Enlightenment, and then you're going to ult. So you have the 15k from your Phantom Rush, you have the 12k from your buffed Enlightenment, and now you also have the 36k from your ult, which if you add that up, that's a lot of damage. That's like 50 some, is that 50 some K? That's a lot of damage, but it does take a perfectly lined, you do have to have everything lined up to be able to get this rotation off, but it can one shot almost anything, and it feels so good. It feels so good when you're able to get that entire rotation off. Now, the playstyle of Monk is a little different because it's not an assassin, right? You're not going to be doing ninja burst damage. You're not going to be doing, outside of those 1 or 2 limit break rotations, you're not going to be doing ninja burst damage. You're not going to be doing dragoons burst damage. You're not going to do samurai's burst damage. So you're not an assassin. But one thing that is Monk is that its damage is lower than majority of the DPS, but it's consistent damage throughout the fight, and you have a little more survivability because your Thunderclap gives you a shield. Thunderclap into a teammate gives them a shield, plus you a shield. You have Riddle of Earth that over the next, I think it's the next 5 seconds, the damage you take reactivating Riddle of Earth again will heal you 25% of damage you take, and it also deals that. So you have these minor survivability skills plus the guard, which one cool trick that you can do with Monk is activate your Riddle of Earth while you're fighting. If you get about halfway life, activate guard, use guard to start backing up from the enemy, and then activate Riddle of Earth right before it deactivates. So that way you get healed for the initial damage and you get healed for the guard damage that you took. And it can give you about 3/4 life back. It's a really cool combo that I highly suggest use for survivability. Outside your guard, while you're in guard, you can look to your teammates to dash to and get away. But I really feel Monk is this hybrid of a support tank, like a bruiser, like a support bruiser and a harasser, where if the team has 3 or more range, if 3 or more range enemies, you can play the harass game. You can jump in the back line. You can harass them because they can't kill you as fast because they do consistent damage too. And you can use your survivability skills to stay alone, which will require the team to come back and focus on you, which then you can guard, or you can use ways to thunderclap away back to your team to isolate players and teammates. It's a really cool play style. Or if the team has 3 or more DP melees, then you can play like this support peel play style where you're sitting back, you're sitting with your range, you're sitting with your healers, and when people try to jump on them, you can six-sided star them to stun them. You can use enlightenment to kick them away, and you're playing like this helpful side. You know, if your healer's in trouble, you can thunderclap to them, give them a shield, heal them a little bit, and it's this cool balance of like going in to harass your teammates. Like Monk is this weird balance. It's weird because like you're going in to harass, but you also don't do enough damage to really kill things outside your burst window. So you have to know when to go in and harass, and also when to pull back to jump. You have to know when to go in and harass and like pull the team towards you, and then thunderclap back to your team to kill the isolated players. It's a really cool play style. It's a really fun one once you get the hang of it, and there's nothing better than being that monk that is constantly dashing in and out of their team, harassing and annoying people, and then getting back to the main fight. It's such a cool play style, and I'll be curious. Let me know how you're enjoying Monk in PvP so far. I'll be curious to know, because I know Monk isn't that high on the scale of the meta, but I think if you master Monk, it can be a really dope PvP class. And as always, if you ever have questions, my Discord link is in the description below with my Twitch link. Come and talk to me. I love chatting with y'all, and keep climbing those ranks. PvP is a great opportunity, and I think it's a great new way of playing Final Fantasy. So let me know how you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video.